Thanks, Ross. Yeah, I feel that senator's passion and upset on that. I think I was 20 or 21 years old, and my neighbor across the street uh, told me he was going to a men's group. And I was like, what? He said, oh, yeah, I'm going to my men's group. And I couldn't, like, is it a cult? Like, I don't know. The concept was just, I didn't get it. Um, and then a few years later, my little brother, who was addicted to drugs and alcohol, um, called and agreed to accept help. And so we found a good program for him to go through. He did it 90 days. It was awesome. But like families feel when someone goes through that, there's uncertainty about whether or not they'll relapse, about what's going to happen with their life. And after about, I don't know, 2 or 3 years of him regularly coming, he had moved back to be with my dad on the East Coast, but regularly coming back. And you'd kind of be like, oh, do you have work? Like, what's going on? He was always coming back to be with his men's group. I think they had more than white men in that group. So, uh, but the idea that men can gather to talk about how we feel, interesting, powerful concept. And to include all, we said in our invitation, everyone is welcome. That's a really interesting phrase. Everyone is welcome. You might hear it in other places. I'm pretty sure you can feel that it's true here with this particular political party and this particular candidate. My mother was president of the Screen Actors Guild. I've been married for 34 years, 32 years, 34 years with my wife, Christine. We have 3 beautiful daughters. To me, there's reverence, absolute reverence for women, because mostly I probably wouldn't survive if I didn't, because I barely have a vote with my beautiful women in my life. When I think about smashing the donation button, I think of honoring them. I think of honoring their life and their experience, which I've learned things about women watching my daughters grow up that nobody warned me about. I thought the dad's job was supposed to help prepare them for you know, college and their love relationships. I didn't know that it was dangerous for women to just walk down the street. I didn't know that they would, I just didn't understand the kinds of things that affected them in the ways that they do. And as a father, that you just want to protect. You just want to protect them. You want to help them. Lifting up a qualified, tested, proven woman into the presidency so that all girls for all time can know that that's possible, that our country, get the placemat out when you're with a kindergartner and you're looking at the placemat of the presidents, not one woman. And the other side, they try and take everything that's good about us and demean it. Kamala Harris smiles. She laughs. She dances. She has joy. She's alive. And they try and ridicule her for that. And they try and undermine us for that. This is a serious person who can prosecute a tough case against people when she's in the Senate. Those are some of the most exciting moments during that awful time, was watching this senator take them to task. Kavanaugh and some of those other people that I watched her fully prepared for her moments. So exquisite with her use of language. Such seriousness of purpose that she has. Full package. I'm a leader of my union. I was a delegate and gave a keynote speech 2 weeks ago at the California Labor Federation. What the governor was saying, or the 2 governors and the senator were saying about Kamala Harris being a part of the labor movement. These people were 750 labor union leaders in California blew the roof off the place talking about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. $40 billion bailout of a retirement fund for the Teamsters. All these things, they had the receipts. The UAW president, Sean Fain, the Teamster or the flight attendant labor president, Sarah Nelson. These people were talking about the Democratic Party and these Democratic leaders in terms that were just so inspiring. So I just want to say like two last things. I have been so proud to be a volunteer. I don't know how many people, when you're watching this, if you're watching back, have ever actually volunteered. You're looking at the strongest, toughest professionals, and by toughest, I mean the quality of their minds. These professional politicians that are here. I don't know how many of you watching understand the professional world of politics, but what I interfaced was as a volunteer. Show up at the place in the mall and get on the phone and start making the calls. I actually got to canvass with Dolores Huerta. If you don't know who Dolores Huerta is, she was the co-founder of the United Farm Workers Movement. And I went door to door with Dolores Huerta and I was looking at all the cameras that were following us and thinking about what I was going to say. Dolores wanted to make sure that the person whose door we were knocking on knew where their polling place was and knew what time knew what date it was. And if they didn't understand, she took whatever time it took to explain it to them. Details matter. Caring about the details with each my father always told me every human interaction is sacred. So I'm committed that today, what I did, I'm a very busy guy. I'm finishing my master's. That's another thing. I've learned getting my master's in public policy and public administration that the mid-level bureaucrat administrator in our country, they're heroes and they get totally overlooked by this process. And I'd like to have a president who actually cares about them, not who wants to like cut all the funding to their department. Those people need support, these administrators. And finally, I would just say that you said it, Ross, at the beginning. You talked about loneliness. You talked about loneliness, the loneliness crisis in America. I go and I give speeches on mental health all over the country. And what all the mental health professionals that I've been talking to for the last 3 years are saying is it was anxiety as the number one thing, and now it's loneliness. When you're volunteering on a presidential campaign, there's actually such community and such deceptive loneliness. Because you spend a full day knocking on doors and you go home and you sit at home and all of a sudden you think, what was that expenditure of energy? What did it mean? Who knows about it? Who cares? Every single person who will be positively impacted by the policies that get passed because you put in the effort when maybe no one else noticed it, that's who cares. And you may never see them. That's it for now.